The humans' influence spread like wildfire, and the Council began to realize just how much they had underestimated them. The unpredictability of humanity had turned from a curiosity into a nightmare. The more the Council tried to control the situation, the more chaotic it became. And the more they tried to predict what the humans would do next, the more they found themselves frustrated and helpless. One day, a high-ranking member of the Council, an alien named Zyrak, called an emergency meeting. "We cannot continue to ignore the humans any longer. Their unpredictability is a threat to everything we stand for. They are capable of anything, and we cannot allow that." The other species were in agreement, but there was one problem. They had tried to stop the humans before, and every time they had failed. Every strategy they came up with was thrown off track by the sheer randomness of human action. At the final summit, the humans were ready. The Council had assumed they would come with a plan to beg for peace. Instead, Marcus stepped forward and made an offer that no one saw coming. "We don't want war," he said, his voice calm and firm. "We want the freedom to choose our path, without fear of being controlled. You fear us because we don't follow your patterns. But that's what makes us strong." The aliens were stunned into silence. For once, they realized they were the ones being outsmarted. The humans didn't need to follow the rules. They had found their strength in not fitting into the galaxy's perfect order. As the meeting ended, the Council members were left with a chilling thought. The humans weren't a threat because they were stronger or more advanced. They were a threat because they couldn't be predicted. And that, above all else, was what made humanity dangerous. The galaxy was filled with ancient races, each one proud of their long history and advanced technology. For eons, they had maintained peace and prosperity, with no threats to their power. They believed they were the superior beings of the universe. But then, the humans arrived. First. The other species of the galaxy didn't think much of Earth's inhabitants. They were young, their technology was primitive, and their planet was nothing special. They believed humanity would be easily conquered, or, at the very least, controlled. But what the aliens didn't understand was that there was something inside humans that no other species had, a silent, unyielding grit. A will to survive that couldn't be broken. It started with a surprise attack from an alien race known as the Vex. They were ruthless, with a highly advanced military and weapons capable of destroying entire cities. The Vex targeted Earth, thinking it would be an easy victory. Their ships arrived in Earth's orbit, their weapons ready to wipe out humanity in a single strike. But they didn't anticipate what came next. Humans fought back. At first, it seemed hopeless. The Vex's technology was far beyond Earth's capabilities. Their ships were large, their weapons devastating. Human forces had nothing to match them, no advanced weapons or fleets to fight back. But instead of giving up, the humans dug in. They didn't flee or surrender, they fought with every ounce of strength they had, using tactics no one saw coming. One of the first battles took place in the ruins of a city that had once been a major human hub. The Vex moved in, expecting an easy victory, but the humans didn't run. They launched a guerrilla war, hiding in the rubble and using their environment to their advantage. The Vex expected a quick victory, but the humans kept coming back, hitting hard from unexpected angles. The Vex had never seen anything like it. Humans fought with something they couldn't predict: sheer grit. Days turned into weeks, and still, the humans fought. Even when their cities were destroyed and their resources were limited, they didn't give up. The Vex commanders began to notice something strange. The humans were losing, but they refused to be defeated. Every time the Vex thought they had wiped them out, the humans regrouped and fought even harder. In one of the darkest moments, a human commander named Sarah made a decision that stunned even her own troops. The Vex had launched an all-out assault on the last human stronghold. Sarah could have ordered her troops to retreat, to save what was left of humanity. But instead, she gave an order that no one could understand. "Stand your ground," she told her soldiers. "We fight to the last breath. We do not surrender." Her decision was not based on logic or strategy. It was pure willpower. It was the human grit that had carried them through every impossible situation. Sarah believed that, even in the face of certain destruction, the humans had something no alien species could ever match: the will to fight, no matter the odds. The battle raged on. Something incredible happened. The Vex, who'd expected a quick victory, began to doubt themselves. The more they pushed, the more the humans resisted. Every time they thought they had crushed the humans, they rose again. It wasn't about technology or firepower. It was about the strength of the human spirit. The Vex had never encountered anything like it. Other species in the galaxy relied on advanced weapons and strategies, but humans fought with something far deeper, something that no alien technology could measure. They fought with their hearts, their souls, and their unbreakable will to survive. The Vex commanders became frustrated. They couldn't understand how the humans could keep going. They didn't have the resources, they didn't have the technology, but they had something more powerful, an unyielding drive. They had grit. Over time, the other alien races began to take notice. The humans weren't giving up. The more they resisted, the more the galaxy's older species grew fearful. It wasn't the human technology they feared, it was their relentless perseverance. The silent warriors who would fight until their last breath. The Vex, once so confident in their superiority, were forced to retreat. They had underestimated humanity. They had expected an easy conquest, but they had encountered a force far stronger than anything they could have predicted. The Vex retreated, not just because they were outmatched, but because they feared the sheer grit of humanity. They realized they could never defeat a species that would never surrender. When the war ended, the humans had proven something that would echo through the galaxy for generations. They had shown the universe that no matter how advanced a species was, no matter how much power they had, they could never defeat the human spirit. The humans weren't just survivors. They were warriors, silent but fierce, who fought with a grit that no alien species could comprehend. As the Council of Galactic Races convened, they spoke of humanity with new respect and a bit of fear. They had underestimated humans once, but they would never make that mistake again. The silent warriors of Earth had shown them that the strongest weapon in the galaxy wasn't technology or power, it was the will to never give up. And that, above all, was what made humanity a force to be reckoned with. In a galaxy where logic ruled, humanity was seen as an anomaly. The vast majority of species in the galaxy had long abandoned emotions. They believed that true power lay in reason, technology, and precision. Empathy, love, and anger were seen as weaknesses, holding back those who sought to dominate the stars. But humans were different. They held something that no other race could understand: their emotions. The first alien species to encounter humans was the Draxians. They were an ancient race, known for their advanced intellect and cold, logical approach to everything. They had studied countless species across the galaxy, watching them grow and evolve. But when the Draxians set their sights on Earth, they underestimated the one thing they could not measure: human emotion. The Draxians landed on Earth with one goal: to take control of humanity. They believed that the human race was weak and easily manipulated, so they offered a deal to the human leaders. "Submit to us," they said, "and we will allow you to join the Galactic Order." At first, the humans didn't understand what was happening. They had never encountered a species like the Draxians before, so calm, so composed, so cold. The humans tried to reason with them, to understand their ways. But no matter what they said, the Draxians refused to listen. They were convinced that logic was the only true path. But then something unexpected happened. One human, with a fierce determination in her eyes, she said, "We are not like you. We don't just think, we feel, and that's what makes us powerful." The Draxians were confused. They didn't understand how feelings could possibly be powerful. Emotions, they believed, were the downfall of weaker species. But Ava's words struck something deep inside them, something they hadn't accounted for. They thought humanity was weak because they didn't follow the same logic they did, but they were wrong. Ava's declaration of human strength began to spread. More and more people stood up, not with weapons, but with their hearts. The Draxians watched in disbelief as the humans rallied together, not out of fear, but out of love, hope, and courage. They didn't fight for control, they fought for each other, for their homes, for their families. The Draxians tried to use their superior technology to crush the humans, to show them that their logic would always win. They sent waves of soldiers to Earth, expecting the humans to fold under the pressure. But instead of surrendering, the humans stood tall, not just as soldiers, but as people driven by something far stronger than any weapon, their will to protect what they loved. In battle after battle, the humans fought with an intensity the Draxians couldn't understand. The humans' actions didn't make sense. They didn't rely on cold calculations or precise strategies. They fought with a wild passion, a deep desire to defend their world. Every time the Draxians thought they had them cornered, the humans found a way to turn the tide, using their emotions to guide them. It was a strange sight for the Draxians. They had never seen anything like it. The humans' fight was driven by something beyond reason. It wasn't about winning, it was about protecting their loved ones, about preserving their way of life. The Draxians began to realize that no matter how hard they pushed, they couldn't break the human spirit. As the conflict raged on, the Draxians grew more desperate. They couldn't understand the human heart. They tried everything, bombing cities, sending their most powerful forces, but nothing worked. The humans just kept fighting, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Their love for their planet, their families, and each other was what fueled them. In one final push, the Draxians decided to destroy the human capital. They launched a devastating attack, thinking it would finally break humanity's will. But as the Draxian ships approached, the humans made one final stand. Ava, leading a group of civilians and soldiers, stood before the Draxian forces and shouted, "This is our home. We won't let you take it from us." The Draxians launched their attack, but something happened. The humans didn't retreat. Instead, they fought harder than ever before. Their love for their planet, their determination to protect their way of life, became the most powerful weapon they had. The Draxians, for the first time in their history, realized they had underestimated the one thing they couldn't measure: human heart. The battle ended with the Draxians retreating, unable to defeat a force they couldn't comprehend. As they left Earth, they understood that human power was not in their technology or their ability to reason. It was in their hearts, their emotions, and their unwavering determination to protect what they loved. The galaxy would never forget the lesson that humanity taught the stars that day. Emotions were not weaknesses. They were strength, power beyond reason. And it was that power that made humans a force unlike any other in the universe. In a galaxy filled with powerful and ancient civilizations, there was one thing the other species could never truly understand about humanity: their drive. Other species relied on logic, advanced technology, and strategic planning. But the humans had something none of them could predict: an unyielding will to survive, a drive that could outlast any obstacle, no matter how impossible. The Trellix were one of the galaxy's most powerful races. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, and their warriors were unmatched in skill and strength. They had conquered countless planets, extinguishing species that resisted their rule. When they turned their eyes to Earth, they thought it would be an easy conquest. They believed the humans, with their primitive technology, would fall quickly to their might. The Trellix arrived in Earth's orbit with an overwhelming force, their massive ships blocking out the sun. Humanity had no choice but to prepare for war. Earth's armies mobilized, but they knew they had no hope against the Trellix's superior technology. Still, they didn't give up. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they were prepared to face them again. Commander Elijah, one of Earth's finest military leaders, stood at the helm of the last remaining human fleet. His eyes scanned the view screen as the Trellic warships loomed closer. "We'll fight," he said quietly, "until the very last man." His voice was calm, but inside, he felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. The Trellix would stop at nothing to wipe them out. Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the humans refused to surrender. The first battle was a massacre. The Trellix fired their advanced energy weapons, tearing through human ships with ease. The humans fought back, using every bit of their creativity and resourcefulness, but it was clear they were outmatched. The Trellix weapons were too powerful, and their tactics too advanced. Earth's forces were being torn apart. Yet, through all the destruction, one thing became clear. The humans weren't backing down. Even as their ships burned, even as their cities fell, the human spirit remained unbroken. They didn't have the power to defeat the Trellix, but they had something more, an endless drive to keep going, to push forward no matter how impossible the situation seemed. After the first wave of destruction, the Trellix thought the humans would collapse, but they didn't. In the aftermath, the humans regrouped. Commander Elijah called for a new strategy, not one based on firepower or advanced weapons, but one based on human ingenuity. "We don't need to match them," Elijah said. "We need to outlast them." The Trellix didn't understand. To them, war was a matter of winning battles with overwhelming strength. To the humans, it was a matter of survival. And so, Earth's forces did what no one expected. They scattered. They retreated to the furthest corners of the Earth, hiding in caves, mountains, and forests. The Trellix tried to hunt them down, but the humans were elusive, using guerrilla tactics and small, stealthy operations to strike back at the invaders. Weeks passed. Then, months. The Trellix were frustrated. They thought the humans would break, but every time they thought they had wiped them out, the humans found a way to rise again. It wasn't about winning, it was about enduring, about surviving. The Trellix, who had always relied on their superior strength and tactics, began to tire. They had underestimated the humans' resolve. The humans had nothing left to lose, but they had something far more powerful than any weapon: their determination to endure. In one final battle, the humans made their move. They lured the Trellix into a trap, using the landscape of Earth to their advantage. The Trellix, unable to understand the humans' persistence, were caught off guard. For the first time, they found themselves on the defensive. It wasn't a battle of power, it was a battle of endurance, of outlasting the impossible. In the end, the Trellix were forced to retreat. They hadn't been defeated in the traditional sense, they had simply run out of resources. The humans had outlasted them, their drive and willpower forcing the Trellix to give up. As the Trellix withdrew, Commander Elijah stood on the steps of Earth's capital, looking up at the sky. He didn't smile, but there was a quiet sense of pride in his eyes. The battle was over. The humans had done the impossible. They had outlasted a race far stronger, far more advanced, and far more powerful. The galaxy watched in awe as Earth's forces emerged victorious. The Trellix, once thought unbeatable, had been forced to retreat by a race they had underestimated. It wasn't about technology or firepower. It was about the human drive, the will to keep going when everything else seemed lost. And the galaxy would never forget what the humans had shown them, that sometimes the greatest power wasn't in strength or intelligence. It was in the relentless, unbreakable drive to endure, to survive, and to outlast the impossible. The galaxy had seen countless species rise and fall, their civilizations crushed under the weight of their enemies. But none of the galaxy's races had ever faced a foe like the Zorathians. The Zorathians were relentless conquerors, known for their speed, strength, and overwhelming firepower. For centuries, they had wiped out any species that dared to challenge them. When they turned their gaze toward Earth, the rest of the galaxy braced for the inevitable. No species had ever survived the Zorathian war machine. Earth, however, had something the Zorathians couldn't predict: humanity's spirit. When the Zorathians first appeared in Earth's orbit, their ships were vast and imposing. The first strike was swift and brutal, their weapons tearing through Earth's defenses with ease. Cities fell within hours, and humanity's hope seemed lost. But amidst the destruction, a quiet resolve grew. The humans refused to surrender. At the heart of this resistance stood General Jackson, a seasoned military leader who had seen countless battles in his time. He stood on a ruined city block, staring out at the horizon where the Zorathian fleet loomed overhead. His face was grim, but his eyes burned with determination. "We may be outgunned," he said to his commanders, "but we are not outmatched. We will not go quietly." The humans were vastly outnumbered, their technology outdated compared to the Zorathians' advanced weapons. Yet, they had something far more valuable: the will to fight. The Zorathians believed they had already won. The first counterattack took place in the ruins of New York. The humans knew they couldn't defeat the Zorathians head-on, so they relied on cunning and strategy. Using guerrilla tactics, they sabotaged Zorathian supply lines, hit their weak points, and disrupted their communication systems. It wasn't about defeating the enemy outright. It was about slowing them down, making them feel the weight of a resistance they hadn't expected. Every day, the humans fought back with everything they had. They fought with the knowledge that they were outmatched, but they also fought with something more powerful, something the Zarathians couldn't understand. They fought for their homes, their families, and their way of life. Despite the losses, the humans did not falter. General Jackson's forces continued to fight on, rallying every soldier, every civilian, anyone who could hold a weapon. The Zarathians, who had once believed they would crush Earth in days, began to question themselves. The human resistance was not broken, and the fight was taking a toll on the invaders. Then came the turning point. The Zarathians, frustrated by the ongoing resistance, decided to launch a final, all-out assault to wipe humanity off the map. They gathered their fleet, ready to make one final push. They expected Earth to be an easy target, but what they didn't know was that the humans had been preparing for this moment. General Jackson, knowing this was humanity's last chance, made a bold decision. He ordered a risky strike on the Zarathian flagship, their command center, the heart of their operation. The strike was a desperate move, one that could either save humanity or end their fight once and for all. The human fleet, now battered and broken, took to the skies, launching a coordinated attack on the Zarathian fleet. The battle was intense, filled with explosions and chaos. The Zarathian ships unleashed their full firepower, but the humans fought with everything they had left. Their ships, though outmatched, used their agility and resourcefulness to avoid the deadly blasts. General Jackson led the charge, his ship weaving through enemy fire as his team pushed forward toward the Zarathian flagship. The battle raged on, and the human forces were slowly being overwhelmed. But they fought on, knowing that this was their last stand. Asa. They approached the flagship. Jackson's ship was hit by a massive blast, sending it spiraling toward the surface. The crew braced for impact, knowing they might not survive. But even in the face of certain death, Jackson's voice came through the intercom, unwavering. "Keep pushing. We're not done yet." Against all odds, the humans managed to board the Zarathian flagship. The final battle took place in the heart of the enemy ship. The humans fought with everything they had left, their resolve unshakable. It was a brutal, bloody battle, but the humans refused to give up. And in the end, it was humanity's relentless drive that won the day. General Jackson and his team disabled the Zarathian flagship, cutting off their command and throwing their entire fleet into chaos. The Zarathians, for the first time in their history, were thrown into disarray. Their defeat was swift, and the humans emerged victorious. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. The Zarathians, the seemingly invincible conquerors, had been defeated by a species they had underestimated. Humanity had not just survived, they had won. The galaxy, which had once believed humanity to be weak, now saw them in a new light. The humans had proven that no matter how impossible the odds, no matter how overwhelming the enemy, they would never stop fighting. General Jackson stood among the survivors, looking out at the horizon. The Earth was scarred, but it was still standing. He knew the victory wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about showing the galaxy that humanity's spirit could never be crushed. "We've done it," he said, his voice filled with quiet pride. "We've shown them who we are." The last stand of humanity had proven one thing: no enemy, no matter how powerful, could defeat a species that would never stop fighting. The human drive was unstoppable, and the galaxy would remember it forever.